Hey everyone, I just wanted to touch in on some very key basic points about high vibe living. There's a lot of talk right now about the vibration rising on the planet and about us really taking care of our own vibration. And I've been fascinated by that most of my life, to be honest. And some of the basic things just get forgotten or taken for granted. And so I just want to touch in on them a little bit here. First and foremost, the most basic need that we have is air. And it's not just any air, it's quality air, it's good air, it's fresh air, it's air that's filled with negative ions. It's air that we want to breathe, right? And so often our homes are more toxic in terms of air than even outside. Think about that. So it's super important not only to get out in nature and have fresh air, but to have fresh air in your home. It's such an obvious thing, but of course we cannot live for more than a couple of minutes really without air. We also want to really remember the importance of deep breathing because we so often forget, we get busy, we get stressed, and we just forget about take a breath. And that is so important. Now, the second most important thing that we just cannot live without is water. There's varying ideas about how much water we actually are in terms of percentages. Some people say 75%, some people say 90%, some people say 95%, some people even say 99% we are water. But what we do know is that we can't live without water. But again, what quality of water are we drinking? We certainly don't want to be drinking tap water. We know that that's full of so many things that we don't even need to go into, but it's been stagnant in ponds. It goes through pipes. Yes, it's cleaned of certain bacteria, but a lot of the dead bacteria is in the water. We don't really want to go to drinking water in terms of bottled water either, because it's terrible for our environment, so much plastic waste. But also the regulations on bottled water are super sketchy, and you just don't really know what you're getting. What you do need, I think, is a really, really excellent water filtration system. One that will take out the impurities that you don't want, but also put back into the water the things we really need, the mineralization, the correct structure of water. There's so much coming up now about the structure of water, and I've been fascinated with this for, oh my goodness, a long time, about 25 years now. The structure of water, because water has memory, and you want the structure to be beautiful and also microstructured so that your body can assimilate all the goodness of that water and recognize it and have the great memories intact within the water that will then infuse our bodies. So water is a big deal. It's a big deal. So make sure you get the very best out of water. What is another critical need for us for a high vibe living state? Sleep. And so many people aren't sleeping well these days. It's become an epidemic, bad sleep. So sleep is something that we used to just take for granted. And I'm always super grateful that I sleep brilliantly and deeply. But one of the key things about sleep is that you can sleep quickly, you can fall asleep quickly, that you stay in deep sleep state for longer periods of time, because that's when the body really rejuvenates, and also that you get to dream and hopefully remember your dreams. And you can train yourself to remember dreams. I'm a huge dreamer. I've been dreaming all my life. I love everything to do with the world of dreams, because of course we are living in an active waking dream right here, right now. But then we have our sleeping dreams, and that is where we get so many messages from spirit, letting us know, guiding us into the next steps of our life, warning us too. So dreams are truly an essential part of life. And, without good sleep and good dreaming, we actually go crazy. That's why it was used in detention camps and so forth, because it would just derail people's minds so fast that then they could interrogate people and they give up everything they knew, because you can't think well, you can't function well. Your brain is so compromised, as is the rest of your body, when you don't sleep well. So, 2 nights of bad sleep and your immune system has decreased by like 50%. Like, that is massive, right? So that is a super obvious one, is that we need to sleep, and we sleep for a third of our lives. So I turn the Wi-Fi off at night. I sleep in a very special sleep system. There's like a cocoon of calmness that I treasure and cherish, and it helps me sleep very deeply. And then I record my dreams, and of course not every night, but a lot. So I think that's an essential piece that has been just now been really looked at, but a lot of people have sort of had this pride of, I don't need much sleep, 5 or 6 hours. No, actually, we need a good 8 hours of sleep, and preferably 9. So if you can get that in, your health is going to just grow exponentially. Your vibration is going to be so much clearer and more joyful. Movement, of course, is critical, and so is food. So which is first? I mean, we need both. But let's go with movement. And, I've been a dancer most of my life, all my life, I guess, actually, since I was 3. So I guess that's pretty much all my life. And of course, movement is life. Our bodies are created to move. Our bodies need movement. We cannot be sitting all day at computers. That is an anathema for life itself. So we need to get out there and move every day. And whether you walk in nature, whether you jog or run, whether you go to a gym, whether you do a dance class, a hip hop, ballet, whatever your thing is, Pilates, yoga. I love gyrotonics right now. I'm really enjoying that. We need to move. Movement is life. And that, you will find it just not only good for our bodies and our strength and our muscles and everything, but also great for our minds. It helps us to think clearly and to be happier. Now let's look at food, because food, of course, is essential. We can't live without food. But what kind of food are we eating? Well, hopefully not junk food, because that's not going to get us very far at all. Of course, it's easy and convenient, but it has a really huge negative side effect. And we all know that. We all know that. I think a little bit here and there is fine, but generally speaking, we want to look at having organic food. Organic food is super important, and lots of veggies. Even maybe you like meat, smaller parts of meat, lots more veggies. Maybe you love grain. I love grain. Brown rice is fabulous. What, do I have it every day? No. Do I have it every meal? Certainly not. Noodles are yummy, and can slow down our metabolism and stuff. So we have to figure out what we can work with and what we can't, depending on our age, depending on our level of activity, and so forth. But food is super, super important. And I think veggies, critical. Lots of veggies, lots of colors. Make it a rainbow diet. I love that. So there's a lot of opinions about diet. I'm not going to go into them, but I would say staples are veggies, some fruits, preferably fruits that grow in your area, and eating them at the time of their growth. Not too many tropical fruits unless you live in the tropics, and just some super healthy portions as well. I think a lot of where we err is sometimes in just eating too much. Or maybe too little. Some people eat too little. And you want to get the right proportion for, again, your age, your metabolism. As you get older, your metabolism slows. So, you probably want a little bit less food. But portion control, not control, that's a terrible word. Forget control, but just being wise about proportions. If you want to work with weight management, you might want to just reduce those proportions to maybe half the size of what you normally eat. See, the thing is, we don't feel full until a little bit later after we finish. So we always want to finish our meal feeling still a little bit hungry, a little bit like we haven't had enough, because if you give it about another 20 minutes, you will feel full. So give your body a chance to have that experience. Otherwise, the tendency is to overeat. And we have a lot of that happening, and it's such a shame, because the body then is sluggish, and then of course you don't feel like exercising, and so it's kind of a circle that goes around, a spiral down. So we want to really look at our food, and I like intermittent fasting. I never heard about it as called that. I just naturally have done that most of my life. So generally, I don't, once I go to sleep, obviously I don't eat when I'm sleeping. And then in the morning, I don't eat until generally about 1 o'clock. I'll have a small light lunch, and then I'll have my dinner somewhere around 6:30, maybe 7. And again, it's not super heavy. And then I don't eat again until the next day around 1 again. So then I found out, well, that's intermittent fasting, but I never knew, but it was just the way my body felt good, because your body needs rest time. If you're eating all the time, it never gets the rest, and that is exhausting to the body. It's exhausting for the intestines. So you really want to give them a break, and so I like that. It works for me. Maybe it doesn't work for you. Obviously you have to look up blood sugar levels, and you don't want to go too low. And usually, by 1 o'clock, I'm like, I need to eat. I can feel it. Maybe my midday, again, is never a rigid thing. I'm not very much into control. I like to go with the flow of things. And you know what? Sometimes I'm hungry in the morning at like 10 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm really hungry. I'll have a little something to eat. The key is not to be snacking all the time, and especially in the evening time, also to try to avoid simple sugars and avoid too much also salt. A lot of meat is exhausting on the body, because our intestines are not really designed for that. We have a long intestinal tract, and most carnivores in the animal kingdom, they have short intestinal tracts, and that means that the meat that they eat can go through pretty fast. But with us, it's not quite like that. We're differently made, so in that way. So I would say not too much meat, not too much animal food. You can do very, very well with vegetarian, as long as you're not eating too much dairy food, because that will clog up your system, especially cheeses. Even though I like cheese, but just a little bit here and there, not too much. And then, yeah, the sugars, ice cream, not so great. Pizza is one of the worst foods you could eat. So there are certain things that you just want to have on very special occasions, but you don't want to make it part of your daily diet. That is for sure. So, food is critical. Then we want to look at our home environment, our shelter. Where do we live, and how do we create that? Is it really messy? Is it full of stuff, or are we mindful about that? Do we get rid of things when we need to, so that we're not like a pack rat? I like to think of my home as my sanctuary, and not to make it super precious, but just that it's a place where there's a lovely vibration of peacefulness, and that I love the things that I have in my home, that for me, those things are beautiful and they're uplifting to my spirit, and that it's neat, it's not messy. Now that goes without saying too, that, when you get up in the morning, is to make your bed. It's such a simple thing, just to make your bed, so that every night when you go to bed, you're getting into a well-made bed. You're not getting into a crumpled, messy bed from the night before. That just doesn't feel good to any of us. So it's a simple practice to make your bed before you shower or after you shower, and keeping things neat, so that there isn't too much around, because a cluttered space makes our mind feel stressful. And so we don't really want that, right? We want to feel calm and supported in our home. And this is another reason why I always turn the Wi-Fi off at night, so that the whole place just calms down. And then I have special air filtration that produces negative ions and takes out all the viruses and bacteria that I don't want. And it just feels chill, so that I can really sleep well, so that the next morning I'm ready for the day. What am I going to do today? And that's an important thing, because a creative expression is a super important part of a healthy, high vibe life. And I don't know what your creative expression is. Everybody's a little bit different with that. I love to play my piano. It's right behind me here. I love doing artwork when I'm in the mood. I love writing blogs, whatever. I love public speaking, and I love doing that any chance I get. I love reading, but that's not so much about creative expression, because when we're talking about creative expression, we're talking about self-expression. What wants to come from within and out. This is a really important part of our health. And then last but not least, positive relationships. We don't live in a vacuum, and nor would we want to. Generally, most of us are not hermits. We like to be with people, and it's about choosing those positive relationships where you feel when you leave the encounter, whatever it is, it's a dinner engagement or it's with your partner, that you feel good, you feel uplifted, you feel supported, and that you feel that you've also been able to give that. So that's a super obvious one, I think, for all of us. We know that we need and deserve good relationships. And if you're in relationships that just don't feel supportive, they're not nourishing, or they feel harmful, then really look at your self-worth. What is your self-worth worth? And is it worth it to stay in a relationship that is detrimental to your well-being, whether it's spiritually, emotionally, physically, on all levels? So mentally, of course. So yeah, positive relationships, they are a key thing. I always feel super blessed that, my friends, not that there are many, many, many of them, but the ones that I have are sacred to me, that I love those relationships. Of course, with my family, those relationships are really sacred to me. And of course, you go through ups and downs with your family, with your friends, with your partner. It's never going to be all roses, right? That would be really idealistic and probably a little foolish, but we can work through those things if we're committed to the relationship. But again, if the relationship, especially a personal, partnership, is harmful, and that goes on for a long time, that then we want to look at, what am I worth? And I'm worth more than this, and to take the steps to extricate oneself from unhealthy relationships, so that you can be open to a new relationship, maybe the best relationship of your life, the one you really deserve. So these are just a few key components of having a high vibe life. And I encourage you to take them one at a time and look at them and say, well, what am I doing really well? And always celebrate yourself for that. Always, always, always. And then, the ones that may need a little bit of work. And we all go through habits, by the way, when we all get into habits that, maybe aren't so great. And, after the pandemic, some of us were in the habit of not working out so much, right? And we needed to really up our exercise piece again, our movement part. So take a look at a sort of inventory of your life. Say, what's really working great? What's not working so well? How can I shift those habits so that I can have the beautiful, bright, high vibe life that I really deserve? Thanks for listening. I hope this is really helpful for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.